Mainstream is proud to sponsor this expedition because it draws attention in a very forcible manner to the disasters of global warming. It's melting the polar ice cap. We want to participate along with these young men, at least virtually, and providing them with sustenance and support so that they can draw the world's attention by their courage to what's happening to our climate. As a global wind and solar company, this expedition on the Northwest Passage is important to us because it allows us to brand our company with the courage of these young men who are doing this rowing expedition. It allows us to put ourselves into the forefront of the struggle to, first of all, stop and then reverse climate change. It allows us to demonstrate to the world that there is an answer to global warming. We don't have to do without electricity. We don't have to do without energy. We can have that energy supplied by renewable power. So that's why it's very important to us as a solar and a wind company. Well, the science was established by an Irishman, John Tyndall, 2 centuries ago. He proved that life on this planet wouldn't be livable without CO2 in the atmosphere. And a couple of hundred scientists ever since have been using his calculations and expanding on those. So there's no such thing as a climate change skeptic. It's a science that's well established. It is predictive, like all good science has to be. And it's able to tell us the amount of warming that's happening in the atmosphere as a result of the accumulation of CO2. We were classically at 270 parts per million of CO2 by volume in the Earth's atmosphere throughout the history of our species. Now we're up around 400. So the atmosphere is warming and has warmed significantly since the start of the Industrial Revolution and will now continue at an accelerated pace. So there's no such thing as a climate change skeptic, not a real climate change skeptic. There is no doubt about this science. Well, climate change is highly relevant to young people because they're going to live longer than you and I. So we are actually carrying out a fight on their behalf. I want them to get out and to use all the social media to draw attention of the world's politicians to this event. I want them to enthusiastically embrace this challenge that these young men are undertaking by rowing this Northwest Passage. So I say to the young people, this is a struggle we're carrying on for you. Well, something like 80 or 90% of electricity is made from fossil fuels at the moment. And the European Union has stated over the past few years that it wants to get to no fossil fuels by 2050. So, what are you going to make your electricity from? We don't have too many choices in this regard. The most obvious ones are wind power and solar PV. We are entirely relevant to the solution of global warming. We have to make our electricity, which means so much to us in our lives. It provides us with most of our energy, and in the future will provide probably all of our energy. So it's essential that we change the way we make electricity from fossil fuels to renewables. Not at all. Politicians around the world are not doing half enough about climate change. They're putting short-term considerations in front of the future of the species, just not engaged on this subject. I mean, I'm delighted to see some changes that have happened with the election of President Obama and with what's happening in China and their very big renewable energy programs. But collectively, I mean, a ton of CO2 released in any part of the world goes to degrade the atmosphere in every part of the world. So in fact, the politicians have to look upon this as a global problem that needs a global solution. So we need all 200 nations collaborating together to deal with this issue. It is just a major political issue, and the politicians have not faced up to it since Kyoto was done in the 1990s. Well, I think the reason we're sponsoring this row is to draw attention to governments, to, if you like, compel them to do something They can see that with the Arctic ice gone, the permafrost is going to melt. If the permafrost melts, there'll be a vast release of methane, that CH4 gas, into the atmosphere. This CH4 gas is 30 times more effective as a forcing gas, as a greenhouse forcing gas, than CO2. So we're headed for almost complete meltdown in our way of life if the permafrost were to melt. This draws attention to the melting of the permafrost and the reduction of the polar ice cap. So we have to, enthusiastically embrace this. We will support it. We'll do whatever it takes to make this expedition happen, and we'll publicise it around the world with a lot of enthusiasm. Well, renewable energy is the future. Renewable energy is going to replace all fossil fuel generation. I want to draw attention to the fact that Mainstream is putting aside some of its very precious cash to support something that's going to bring about real political change. We're strongly supportive of this. We're enthusiastic about it. I want to see the people of the world realise, through the bravery and courage of these young people who are going to row this passage, I want to see all this happening so that politicians feel, yes, the youth are out there doing something about it, and there is one company, and it's called Mainstream, who are delighted to sponsor. Mainstream is a global renewable energy company. We're developing projects offshore in Europe. We have 7,500 megawatts under development in Europe, offshore. We develop in North America, in Canada and the United States. We're also developing wind and solar in Chile and in South Africa and in Ireland. We plan to link up Ireland and England with a very big project over the next 5 years, which will see 5,000 megawatts getting exported from Ireland to England. So we're probably the leading independent developer of renewable energy in the world today. Well, governments are interested in this. Local utilities want to stabilise the price of their electricity. The interesting thing about solar PV and wind energy is that once you build the plant, the fuel is free and you stabilise the price of electricity. So utilities are very interested in owning wind and solar plant. Secondly, almost every big company in the world recognises that the future is with green, and they're investing heavily, actually, at the moment in wind plant and solar plant globally. So our customers are those companies who we can relate with, who wish to play their part in slowing down or attempting to reverse global warming. There are various other customers as well. They're just purely financial customers who want to see a stream of cash flows. But in those three categories are the main customers that Mainstream would have. Well, when the problem with building a renewable energy plant, whether it be PV, that's solar photovoltaic, or wind, the only costs you have to meet effectively are the costs of capital. The fuel is free. So once you've got it built, the marginal cost of electricity production is zero. So everywhere that wind has been put in the system, it reduces the cost of electricity because it prevents more expensive methods of generation being used. So the challenge for all of us, and the challenge for political systems and for companies, is to find a way to build a plant, because once it's built, it's there, and it's probably going to be there forever. I don't see wind or solar PV ever coming down once they're built. So they'll proceed, and 100 years from now, those plants will still be there, producing electricity at a zero marginal cost. So that's how the price gets stabilised. It has several other effects as well. Of course, it's a mitigant. It's a risk reduction thing. If you're, for instance, a country like Chile, take for instance, which is importing all its energy, all its fossil fuel energy. When you take wind and solar locally in Chile, well, you don't have to import that amount of fossil fuel. Therefore, you get a bigger impact on the economy, not just the imports foregone, but there's a massive multiplier on that, which we've recently calculated at about 2.5. So in terms of employment in the economy and in terms of having money to spend on things like hospitals and schools and various other socially desirable things, the government has a lot more money to spend on this. So that's the second way that we impact quite strongly on you know, the political process and on the price. Well, you know, we love our customers. You know, we'll go the extra mile always with our customers. When we identify a customer who wants to own some wind plant or wants to make an investment in our company or in a solar plant or whatever, we're going to work with them to make it easy for them to do just that. We're going to reach out to them. We're not going to seek excessive profits or whatever it might happen from this investment. We just want to make our rate of return, and we want to work with these corporates, because by both of us working together we actually achieve change. The corporate sector leads. Corporates are staffed with very bright people, oftentimes very imaginative people, and they're all concerned about the future of the globe. And we're not constrained in big corporates. We're not constrained by political considerations. We're not actually constrained by the need to please those who are employed in the fossil fuel industry. We can do things that governments might find it hard to do in the short term. Governments have got a very short-term outlook on developments. They're elected every 4 or 5 years at best. A corporate is a big entity which is going to be around, is profitable, and probably going to be here for another 20 years, a large branded corporation. And we see those as the great harbingers of change, the people who can make a real difference. And I want to work with those and commit Mainstream to working with those customers, and we will serve them well.